Well, hello everybody and welcome back to Hoffman Reproductions. Thank you for tuning in with us once again here today. And finally we are ready to do our homemade black powder test. I've had several delays. It's the reason we couldn't get the video out, but finally here we are. So to do the test here today, I'm going to be firing a multitude of different targets and just putting the powder through its paces. Not going to give it any freebies. It's going to have to earn its keep, so we're going to go ahead and shoot the way I normally would shoot. I've got my trusty rifle here. I know this gun is good shooting, well-tuned lock, good sparking, all that, so to not take anything away from the powder either. And we're going to commence with the test. So we're going to be doing just general shooting to see how it performs. I'm also going to be priming the pan to see how that goes. We're going to be shooting also for accuracy, so I've got some long distance targets out there to try those, and sort of a crude ballistics test. I'm going to shoot a box out here that has stacked cardboard and plywood with a shot of commercial powder and then a shot correspondingly of our homemade powder. The stuff I have here today is akin to 2F, and one thing I should back up on the previous video we grained our powder and it came out about 2F. Well, since I've been playing with it since we made that video, I take it through 3 siphonings or screenings. After it's made, I'll run it through a sifter, and that first sift catches the real heavy powder, what I would call 1F, and then I have a slightly smaller screen I run it through, and that's where I get my 2 to 3F stuff, and then what's left, a real fine screen, I'll sift it through, and you can actually get 4F. I haven't tried the 4F out, but I did screen it through those, so we've got consistent powder that we're playing with here. So I'm going to go ahead and get loaded up and just fire a few shots to see how this stuff is overall performing. So stay tuned. Okay, so here to begin, I'm just going to fire a few shots offhand at a target out here. I've got about 25 yards out, and just to generally see how it's going, how it's igniting, how it's shooting, and is it matching, you know, commercial powder in those areas. So we're loaded. I'll go ahead and prime. And I'm shooting my standard load. Everything is the same. I have up the powder charge because, again, this powder is a little weaker. Typically I shoot 50 grains out of this rifle. I'm shooting about 75 to compensate for that. So 75 grains of homemade powder. Here we go. Alright, well that felt pretty good, so we'll load up and go for shot number 2. Alright, number 2. Okay, we'll load up again. Okay, so my initial impressions after firing several rounds of this is it's good quality stuff. It's lightning fast. There's no hesitation. As far as priming the lock of a flintlock, that's going off good. I haven't noticed excessive fouling. The bullets are sliding right down the barrel, which consequently I'm testing out a new patch lube. If all goes well, I'll share the recipe with you. But so yeah, it's doing good. I'm happy with it so far. I'm going to go ahead now and switch over and try some of our long distance targets to see how it's doing on accuracy. Okay, so I know at this distance I've got a target set up out there that is a 6x8 board. I can hit that all day long with this rifle, so I know what to expect. I should be able to hit it with this powder. Again, it's about a 6x8 board. You can't see it because of the lighting in the trees, but that's what I'm going to go for, so we'll see if it performs as well as the commercial powder at a longer distance. A little hard to see at this distance, but I think the board is moving, so I think we got it. Okay, so to be fair, I fired twice and I've missed twice, but yesterday I did testing with this rifle and powder and I was easily hitting this target this range. What is different? I've got my 18th century spectacles on and I've had these things for like 20 years. They're not my updated prescription and I'm having a bit of a hard time seeing it at this range. So because I did the testing yesterday, we can jock it up to the glasses and not the gunpowder. So that's the result of long range. Okay, for this next shot, I'm going to kind of do a crude penetration / ballistics test. I've got a cardboard box out here with layers of plywood and thick cardboard. I'm going to shoot it with my standard load, 50 grains of 3F GoX, and then shoot it with a homemade powder and see if we're getting better or worse performance as far as the penetration test goes. So that's up next. Alright, so we'll reload and do our homemade powder. Okay, so now our charge of 75 grains of our homemade powder. Had a little hang fire on that, but I kept it on target, so we'll see what the results are. Okay, so for the results of our ballistic tests, they were unconclusive. The top shot with the commercial powder, it blew clear out the back of the target, didn't slow down at all. And it looks like the homemade powder basically did the same thing, except my shot was a little low and it exited the bottom of the box about 3/4 of the way through. So we'll have to redo that test at some point with a thicker backstop. But just as far as recoil goes, they feel about the same, and it feels like it's generating approximately the same amount of force. So yeah, you do have to up the powder charge a bit, but other than that, it feels like it's good. So I'm going to fire a few more rounds here off camera, and I'll give you my overall opinion of this powder. Okay, so my overall opinion of our homemade powder, it's great functioning stuff. I am happy with it across the board. Ignition is positive, there's no delay. I did have one hang fire, but that occasionally happens with a flintlock. Other than that, fired this rifle over a dozen times, no issues. Smooth loading, I did not notice a huge amount of fouling problems, and knockdown power seemed to be about the same. I did take another shot at our long distance target, and I brought the sight down into the woods because it's a white board, so when I was getting it up on the white, the sight was kind of disappearing, so I brought it up real slowly and then touched it off and I hit it. So I feel redeemed in that regard. But yeah, I'm happy with it across the board, I really am. And it's very liberating to know, if I never want to buy commercial powder again, I don't have to, because this stuff works great. The other day I did several other test fires with some different rifles. I fired a percussion rifle, and if you're a percussion shooter, same performance, works great, no problems. I know of other individuals who have used this particular type of powder in cap and ball revolvers, black powder cartridge. That all works great. So don't be afraid to branch out from the flintlocks that we typically cover. But overall, yes, I would recommend it. Works phenomenal, no issues. Again, good for reenactors. If you're just dumping a load down to shoot it, it goes off good. Lots of smoke and noise if that's what you're after. And cleanup. The other day I did a lot of test firing for another video using a first model Brown Bess musket and also my rifle. And I found that as far as the cleanup goes, I would say this powder burns just a little better than GoX. I thought it was slightly less fouled. Still, black powder. It was pretty gunched up. It was dirty, but a little bit less and certainly no worse than commercial powder. So overall, I would give this powder an A+, and would encourage you, don't be afraid to use it for target shooting hunting and reenacting. And again, on a historical note, which is cool, this is the type of powder that was used previous to the year 1820. So previous to that, this is the type of powder they were using. So it adds a degree of authenticity to your reenacting and shooting, and I would strongly recommend it. I was very happy with it. So once again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Be sure to like and subscribe, and that really helps us in the algorithm to get the video to pop up. And we're nearing 1,000 subscribers, and that's when we'll be eligible for advertising. However, YouTube does not like gun channels, so whether this channel is going to generate income remains to be seen. A lot of our videos, I think they're going to shadow ban and whatnot, but we'll see how it goes. I am very grateful for all of our subscribers, and thank you once again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.